Hey everyone, I'm so glad you're here with me for Kid Connect at Home today. Are you ready to jump into today's part of the Big God story? Well, we're going to get started with our Remember verse before we hear about what exactly we're going to be talking about today. So, if you'll look at 1 John with me, we're going to read from chapter 4, verse 9, which says, "This is how God showed his love among us. He sent his one and only Son into the world that we might live through him." That's such an incredible verse because it tells us how much God actually loves us, that he gave up his own Son, Jesus, for us, for you, for me, for everyone. And that's such exciting news. Well, today we're going to hear all about how Jesus is salvation. Take a moment. I want you to think about the biggest family or friend gathering with a meal that you can think of. Maybe that was Easter Sunday. Maybe it was Christmas. Maybe it was Thanksgiving. Or maybe another big event where you got to sit down and eat with all of your favorite people, or at least some of them. Well, today we're going to be hearing about the Great Banquet, the parable of the Great Banquet. Now, what is that, you might be thinking? Well, we're going to check it out in just a moment, and then we're going to end with some worship. So, get ready to hear about how Jesus is salvation.
Do you like birthday parties? I love them. When I was your age, I used to get so excited with all the fun things that people did at their birthday parties. Man, some people, they had the bounce houses. You got to hang out with all your friends. Oh, and the presents, they were amazing. Oh, and don't forget about the birthday cake. Parties were amazing. But more than all of that, I love the amazing feeling when someone invited you to their birthday party. You see, it was the invite that everybody wanted, and they chose to give it to you. You know, in the Big God story today, Jesus was at a dinner party in the home of an important religious leader. There were many Pharisees at this party, and they were the religious leaders, the Jewish leaders, who thought that the way to belong to God was to follow all the rules. See, the Pharisees, they followed the rules of Moses, but they even made up some of their own rules just to be on the safe side. See, they didn't please God, and that didn't please God because God wanted us to show that we belong to him by loving him and loving others. So when they all sat down for the meal at this house that Jesus was at, Jesus watches the way that all the people chose the best seats at the table. And then Jesus spoke to the host of the party, and he tells him that when he throws a dinner, he shouldn't invite his friends or his family or all his rich neighbors. Instead, he should invite those who cannot repay him. He says you should invite the poor, the lame, the blind, the crippled. This was rather unusual advice from Jesus. But Jesus wanted the host to know that God cares about all people. Not just those who are rich and can return the favor. God cares about those who have nothing. Those people who aren't popular and can never repay your kindness. Jesus went on to tell this story about a man, an important man who prepared a great banquet. And he sent out all of his servants to invite his guests. But everyone who received an invite made an excuse. They were busy with their new property, or they had new animals to take care of, or they had to be with their family. When the man found out, he was really angry. He sent his servants out to the streets and down into the town to bring back the poor, the crippled, the blind, and the lame to be a part of this great party. And when they did that, there was still room left in the banquet. That's how big this banquet was. And so the man sent them out one more time to find people to fill the space. But he made a promise that not one of the people who were invited and rejected him would eat at the banquet. See, in this story, the host, it represents God, and the banquet represents heaven. See, God has invited his people, Israel, the Jewish people, to accept his invitation to heaven. But many of them didn't accept God's invitation. See, when Jesus came, many Jewish people rejected him. They turned down God's invitation to be in relationship with him. By rejecting Jesus, they were rejecting the celebration that God had prepared for us in his kingdom. They were like the three people who made excuses to miss the banquet. But God is so good. His invitation is not just for a few, it's for all people. And in the parable, the servants searched everywhere, far and wide, and invited to bring people to the banquet. God's invitation is for the poor, the crippled, the lame, and the blind. It's for the popular, the rich, the famous. It's for those we think are important and those we think are the least important. It's for everyone, including you and me. So we are some of the people God has invited to his banquet. But we must accept salvation through Jesus if we're going to attend God's banquet in heaven, because Jesus is our salvation.
To something good. I know that you are always up to something good. You'll make a way, whatever it takes. There's nothing your love won't endure. I know that you are always up to something good.